Hey there. Welcome to the Camden Famous podcast. I'm your host, April Shaw-Beaudoin. Whether you're a local, a seasonal visitor, or just curious about Mid-Coast Maine, you're in the right spot. We dive into the stories behind the must-visit places, from cozy eateries and unique shops to can't-miss attractions. For more insights and to join our community, check out our website at camdenfamous.com or follow us on Instagram at camdenfamous. Let's explore the best of Mid-Coast Maine together. The Camden Famous podcast is brought to you by The Wharf at Lyman Morse. The Wharf is a beautiful waterfront destination on the sunny side of Camden Harbor. The Wharf at Lyman Morse offers a one-of-a-kind dining, shopping, and lodging experience. Plus, don't miss the sunset over Camden Harbor from the Salt Wharf, their rooftop restaurant and bar. Visit thewharfcamden.com. That's the WHARF Camden.com to start your adventure today. I'm here with Gardner Bryant of Heavy Element Inc., and today we're talking about what he does for local and global audiences. Welcome to the show, Gardner.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about what you do and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been kind of a audio and video nerd for a really, really long time, like since I was a kid. Before we got on the podcast, I was sharing some stories with you about that. But one of the things that really motivated me as a kid was, playing with the Sony Handycam that my aunt had. And my cousin and I would like go around and make little home movies together. And then I discovered like Windows Movie Maker and how you could take the videos that you recorded on the camcorder, put them on the computer, and then edit them. And I was always really excited about doing that kind of stuff. And then a few years later, I learned about audio production. My dad was actually a radio DJ for a long time.
Okay.
And so he brought home this software called Cool Edit Pro, and it let you record podcasts before there were podcasts.
Oh.
And so my friends and I would record our little radio shows, and then I'd mix them, cut them up, mix them together, and it was a good time. And then eventually YouTube came around, and I was like, hey, I think I can do that. So I put all those skills together, and I've been doing my YouTube channel for 10 years.
Wow.
Just under 10 years. I have a bunch of like clients across Maine and the country and the world even. So I've been able to take one of my clients from basically no subscribers on YouTube to over 1 million subscribers. I actually just got the 1 million subscriber plaque from YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
It's really awesome.
Do you have a certain segment of the population that you get excited to work with? Or is it just anyone who wants to launch a podcast? What is your ideal client?
My ideal client is local people who are enthusiastic about the work that they do. One of my favorite things to say to my clients is like, you got into your business because you're passionate about what you do, not because you want to run a social media site or, manage all these other things that you're not into. I have this kind of overlap in my skill set where I feel like I'm competent at telling stories, and I'm also competent with my video and editing, my audio production, but I'm also like really good with technology. So I'm sure you saw, I helped you set up this whole microphone setup. And, I kind of I've never used this specific device before, but I took to it like water, right? And I've had this knack for programming and computer animation and 3D design and 2D design and websites and stuff. So I have this overlap between telling a story and building things technically. And that's one of my favorite things to do. So if you're interested in like the things, if you're passionate about the things that you do as a business, and I can help you tell that and reach new audiences. And that's my ideal client.
That's awesome. And did you grow up here in Mid-Coast Maine?
I did.
You did.
I was born in Belfast, raised in Searsport, and I've lived across the country since then. So,
but now you live in Belfast.
Yeah, I live in the Belfast area.
Great. As everybody knows, I live here in Camden, and I'm obsessed with Mid-Coast Maine. And one of the things I love to talk to our podcast guests about is what they love about Mid-Coast Maine. Why do they live here? Why do they settle here? What do they love about having a business here in Mid-Coast Maine?
The people, the weather. I know it's like mud season right now, but like I love the mild winters. I love the hot summers in the day and the cool summers in the evening. And like I said, the people, like I have a lot of friends and family in the area. I mean, like I said, I've lived in Maine most of my life, but I've traveled a lot, and you know, there are cordial people outside of like Maine, but at the same time, you can't really beat the atmosphere that people here. It's welcoming, I feel, and I just love that.
I completely agree, and that's why we settled here 3.5 years ago. So when I have interviewed all the businesses that have appeared on the Camden Famous social channels over the past few months, over and over and over again, the one common thread I hear is people are so friendly. They're not putting on pretenses. There's no posturing. Neighbors want to know you. When you go out for a walk, they're waving to you. They know what your kids' names are. It is truly, it's like a storybook world that we live in Mid-Coast Maine. And so I also am curious to hear what's special to you about running your business in Mid-Coast Maine.
Well, the town that I live in has some of the fastest like fiber optic to the home internet that you can get in the country.
Really?
Yes. They've won several awards for that. The thing is, it's rural, and I love that, but I can also get the kind of internet speed that I need. It might sound like silly because I bought my house because it had the fastest rural internet in the country. You know what I'm saying? So, but the work that I do demands that, and I also don't want to live in a city. I've lived in cities before. I lived just outside of Kansas City, in Missouri for a while, and did not care for that. I love Kansas City. Didn't like living there. The same thing with I lived just outside of Lexington, Kentucky for a while. Love the people. The people are great. I love them, but at the same time, that kind of like population density just doesn't sit well with me. Like my psyche just can't handle that kind of frenetic energy, that all that traffic and all those people. Like I don't know why. So for me, living in Maine, running my business here is like the best of both worlds, because I have one foot in that kind of the technical side of things, and that's kind of more like a city side kind of thing. You don't find a lot of people like me around here, but that also lets me kind of stand out and make a name for myself, to be completely honest with you.
That's awesome. One of the questions I always love to ask people too is there anything that you wish the community knew about you or your business, or are there any misconceptions that people have about what you do that you would love to set the record straight? They could be funny things.
Yeah. That's a great question. I have to think about that for a second. I can't think of any misconceptions. Honestly, there's kind of like a level of anonymity that I have right now. I've done a lot of like high profile work, but I haven't really like put myself out there. So, I've done like the website for the Colonial Theater in Belfast.
Oh, okay.
I did the website for Seabreeze Family Eye Care in Belfast as well. And if you check out my website, heavyelement.io, I personally built that site myself.
Okay.
So I've, websites are kind of my primary thing, but I also really love doing like social media marketing. I'm more in like the email marketing sector, because I find that's where people get the most traction.
Do you want to expand on that for a minute, just for the audience, who a lot of these people that are listening that love Camden Famous are local business owners, and they're always looking for new ways to reach their audience in a more impactful way, and they might not know much about email marketing. So if you want to expand on that.
How long do you have? So if you are focusing your business right now on Google ads, if you're focusing your business on Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and, and you've noticed that there's like very uneven engagement. That's because the algorithm does not care about you or your business. It cares about what is going to get the most engagement from their audience. And, you know, let's say you have 8,000 or 10,000 followers on Instagram. You don't own those followers, right? Like those followers, their Facebook, Meta, Instagram sits as an arbiter between you and the people you're trying to connect with. Even the people who have opted into connecting with you, Facebook sits there and holds them hostage from you as a business owner. I know it sounds like kind of provocative, but it's absolutely the truth. So from where I sit and the work that I've done, I have found that email marketing is the best way to reach customers. You have to actually have, you have to do the work, but it's worthwhile work. So when you go on, if you have a website and your customers are coming to visit your website, you put an email form on your website and people sign up for your newsletter, and you once a week, maybe once a month, you reach out to those customers and that email goes into their inbox and they can actually see it. You get like much higher engagement on every post that you're not post, but newsletter that you send. You own your email newsletter, right? You own the list of people that you're connecting with. You can export that and you can take it from MailChimp to Constant Contact or any of the other vendors that offer this solution. And that's one of the most powerful things, is having your own data autonomy. If you don't control your email list, if you don't control the list of people who are following you, then you don't have a real connection with them. So I'm very passionate about this. I don't know if you can tell.
No, that's great. Do you also help people craft their messaging? Okay.
Yeah, I have a copywriter on staff.
Okay. Because I think that's another thing for me as an agency owner, sidelined to Camden Famous. I have a marketing company, and one thing that I hear a lot, you know, they don't know what to put in that newsletter. And when they don't know what to put, they're just kind of throwing anything at the wall to see what will stick. And then they don't see great conversion. They don't see great open rates. So I think that's a really valuable thing that you can offer small businesses locally. Like, what kind of content do their users want to engage with?
Yeah.
What do they find valuable?
Yes. And there's a lot of platforms that offer tools that help you find the answers to those questions. So if you are unsure about what's driving the best engagement, a lot of the email newsletters, the platforms that offer these services will give you like the ability to do A/B testing and like to actually like dig down into the data and see what's your best performing email newsletter like in the last couple months. Like, what's the best X, Y, and Z to reach your customers? What's the best subject line and follow up to actually get people to click and open emails? If your open rate is under 30%, you need to like address that, because 30% is kind of like the minimum. It really depends on the type of service you offer, because different verticals have different open rates essentially, but a good rule of thumb is about 30%.
Oh, that's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I usually charge people for this information.
Well, thanks for sharing it for free here today. And what about the people in the community that are listening locally and they've been thinking about starting a podcast? What kind of advice do you have for them, or how would you work with someone who is thinking about launching?
Well, the thing about a podcast is you need to find a niche, right? You have to find your audience, and you have to identify who is actually like the average listener. If you're not doing that, then you might be wasting your time. So when you're talking on a podcast, you're thinking about doing a podcast, what I recommend is think about who you want to listen to your podcast. And if you can't get really specific, then, if you're not saying like, local business owners who are interested in meeting other business owners, or, listening to the challenges of other business owners in the area. If you can't get specific like that, then you're probably don't have your idea fully baked, right? So for me, what I can offer is helping you identify who those people are, what your primary audience is going to be, and help you format it and get you through the technical hurdles of actually starting a podcast that's worth listening to.
That's so valuable.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you have helped us get everything looking right, sounding right. Sounding right is the big piece of it. And just, which cord goes where and where do I sit and which type of microphone sleeve do I put over the stand and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that you've been able to help me get started. I'm excited to share with the audience how they can work with you too.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the last thing that I always am looking to share or trying to provide a platform for the small business owner here locally in Mid-Coast Maine to share is, what are you famous for? What would your favorite clients say, Gardner XYZ, this is how he really shines. This is the way I love to work with him the most.
I feel like I'm good at building a rapport. I feel like I'm good at like making people feel comfortable, especially in kind of a performance setting like this. I'm good at fostering conversation and getting to like the core of your story, right? I also am confident in my ability to explain technical things to non-technical people. I think those are really important skills, especially when you're dealing with a lot of CEOs and people who aren't like technical. They're interested in like, how does this affect my bottom line, or how is this like helping my company grow? They're not really interested in the technical minutia. So I've had a couple customers where they're like, oh, can you explain this technical thing to me? But also I don't want my eyes to glaze over with extraneous detail, right? So, and I feel like I'm fairly good at doing that.
I'm happy to attest to that. As you got me set up today, I was like, oh, my brain is getting crowded. And he was like, you know what? You don't need to know that. Let's skip it.
Yeah. I want to get things set up and ready to go for people to achieve what they're trying to do. Whether it's reaching their potential customers online, or if it's telling stories about the way the company works or the mission of your company, or I've worked with some nonprofits where it's like, we're trying to reach this type of person, and we need to have X, Y, and Z like right up front and center. So I've been able to achieve that with them as well. And you asked what my claim to fame is.
Yeah.
So I said I grew up here in Waldo County, and I don't know if you said you moved here 3 years ago. So probably not. You probably don't know who these are, but my grandparents, Joe and B. Bryant, used to run Bryant Stove and Music in Thorndike.
Okay.
And it was a one-of-a-kind museum that's been featured all over the place.
Oh.
Like it had, it doesn't exist anymore. They passed away a few years ago. But it was a sight to behold. They had antique cast iron wood stoves that they restored on the premises.
Wow.
They had antique music machines like player pianos, Nickelodeons, these crazy old, I don't even know what they called them, street organs, I think they called them, that had these huge cylindrical barrels with pegs sticking out of them, and they turn a crank and the pegs would, like the barrel would rotate and hit these hammers that would play music on strings.
Wow.
And they used to use these things in Boston, and they would train monkeys to crank the music machines. Yeah. And so it was, they had all these amazing devices. My grandfather was like really into like steam machines. So he would like steam powered, like coal powered stuff. So he had all of these like antique toy engines that he wired up to work with compressed air. So like all these antique steam engines that kids used to play with, kids playing with steam engines, wild. He wired them up to work on compressed air so that they'd be safe to use. And then he'd show people how they worked, and he was enthusiastic about this kind of stuff. So you can see where I get it, right?
Yes, I can.
The one other thing that they had was this thing called the doll circus. And my grandmother loved to collect stuff. So she collected antique Barbies, and I mean, I don't know, antique Barbies, but like they were Barbies. She loved Barbies. She also collected like stuffed animals and like all this other stuff. And my grandpa would like take these toys and turn them into like It's a Small World. It was like this.
Wow.
It was like this amazing menagerie of like animatronic stuffed animals and Barbie dolls, and like it was wild. And it was in the middle of nowhere in Thorndike, Maine, and they're my grandparents. So that's kind
Wow.
of my other claim to fame.
Wow. And so people came from all over to see
Oh yeah.
this.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Wow.
featured in Rand McNally. It was
Oh,
featured
wow.
on BuzzFeed and lots of other
Oh,
places.
wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we end the show today?
If you guys are interested in anything that I mentioned, any of the work that I do, you can check out my website, heavyelement.io. You can also head over to my YouTube channel, Gardner Bryant on YouTube. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. To learn even more about what makes Mid-Coast Maine so special, visit our website at camdenfamous.com or head over to Instagram where you can find us at CamdenFamous.